record. 5, 4, 3. Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 270 is titled Stand Book Launch Special. Jay's book is finally here. What has been the impact? How can you get it? How can you share it? We'll be talking about that at the table this evening. Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later on YouTube at Lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you would give us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse. When you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast. We talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome. Man, hitting all cylinders.
You made it harder to not laugh, Eric, through that whole thing. Like the first time your voice went, it
was great.
and I'm like,
I don't know what you're
I
talking
smiled, and then you did it again, and I'm like, geez.
Sunday.
And then you did
Sunday.
Guess where I was today, boys?
Disc golf course.
No, I know
Well, I
this
went
answer.
past many
I
of
believe I know this answer.
You do.
Erie, Pennsylvania.
I was.
That's right. Ooh, how was
We
it?
finally made the trek. Bella's school at Mercyhurst was canceled Monday, Tuesday, then also canceled Wednesday, and told not to come back until late this morning, early afternoon, because their snow stopped sometime yesterday. But then originally it was going to be just a lot of wind coming in, gusts of 45 by around 3 o'clock this afternoon. But then when I went to bed last night, I looked and it was starting at 9 a.m. this morning. And
And for those who don't live in the western, oh my gosh, that's me. You just turned me up. You are number one, buddy.
I'm backwards.
Chris is number one, everybody.
Got it.
Okay. Check. 1, 2, check. That's not me. That's not me.
Nothing. Okay.
Can you turn me back up? Because now I can't hear anything at all. Check.
Tech time in Rome.
Keep
Do
going. Keep
I
going.
need
Keep
to
going.
come over there?
Keep going. There you go.
Still seems a little loud.
Not going to edit that out. But for those of you who don't live in Western PA, we get all the weather in Pittsburgh. We
4
get
seasons.
hot summers, 90 degrees. We get
Short fall this year.
no.
Well, sure it was. It was summer. It was warm, and then boom, we're at winter.
See,
Well, I feel like we had a warm
it was a
fall.
late fall.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We had 70s and 80s through November.
But it still got pretty cold at night, but then it was warm. I thought it was a nice fall.
Oh, it was lovely.
Yeah.
I love
Okay.
it. Very
Lovely.
temperate. I would say it was yes.
Yeah. But yes, quick into the cold weather. We're here. And but up a little bit north above I-80 is kind of the cutoff line if you're looking at a map.
Well, I'll talk more about that in a minute.
It snows like by the foot because of all the lake effect snow from Lake Erie.
It's never less than a foot.
It's always a foot or more.
Which is crazy because last year, Erie got about the same amount of snow we did. Like everybody,
Yeah.
when Bella said she was going to Mercyhurst, talk about rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. She's like, yeah, I decided I'm going to go to Mercyhurst. Hope you like snow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thanks. But they didn't get a lot. Well, they got a lot.
Yeah. They met their quota.
Between 3 and 4 feet from, I guess it was Thursday. Was it Thanksgiving or was it Friday? I think it started Friday. Or maybe it was Thanksgiving night.
I'm not sure. I did see footage though. It was crazy.
Well, so I was very intrigued because, all right, it hasn't really snowed since like Monday night. It snowed throughout the day Tuesday, but not a lot. So what are we going
Up in Erie, you're
Up in
talking.
Erie.
Okay, yeah.
And by the way, nothing in Pittsburgh, 2 hours away.
We had a dusting.
Barely.
Yeah, it didn't last and nothing like stayed.
So my question to Bella was like, where is it going to be snow? Like, where will we see, okay, it snowed here?
Oh, okay.
Now, she said Grove City. What do you guys think?
Okay, that's close to I-80. Now,
Here's your choices.
well, hold on, because
Okay.
I've traveled back and forth from Pittsburgh to Titusville many times. Cross I-80 on that trip.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me how close to I-80, that change happens all the time. I'm like, there's nothing. Oh, here comes I-80, foot of snow.
Yeah.
Like it's really, so I'm going to guess Slippery Rock.
I was gonna guess Edinburgh.
Oh, that's way up there though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see real quick.
I mean, I'm trying to throw a mix into the,
Okay.
you know.
Into the guesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to see something real quick. Where do we keep
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Where do we keep
I-80
I-80?
is just north of Grove City.
Yeah. Yep.
Not even snow on the ground to Grove City. Nothing.
Wow.
And then maybe a little bit south of Meadville,
Okay.
it was laying on the ground. I mean, and the road's fine, but like, and Bella's like, whoop, see, there's snow like a little bit north of Grove City. And I'm like, no, that's not snow. That's
Right.
like snow in the grass.
Yeah,
But you
evidence.
can still see the grass.
Yeah.
Then, starting in Meadville, okay, it's white in the fields.
Yep.
That's a little ways up there though. That's right in the middle of Crawford
Well,
County.
wait until you see. Not until we got past Edinburgh. Was it like,
Wow.
okay,
I win.
this is
Price is Right rules.
snow. Like it's
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
But even then it was like, okay, they had a heavy snow.
Yeah.
You get off at off I-79 at I-90. So you're in Erie proper at this point. I-90 goes to Cleveland to Buffalo.
Yep.
And there you're like, okay, there's snow a little bit piled up on the sides of the road. You know, like they've had big snow. But still,
They've had to plow.
I've expected more.
Yeah.
That's only like a couple miles from the lake too.
We get off at the Presque Isle Downs Casino exit, which is like the next one past Peach Street, where we get off.
Yeah.
I slid a little on some slush that was just on the side of the road. And that's sort of the neighborhood section. Now you head into campus. Now you're like, okay, they had snow. It's 3 feet, 4 feet on the side of the road.
Okay. Plowed
But
up,
still, you're like, you know, you're looking on the rooftops. You're like, okay, they had snow. A couple driveways aren't plowed. A couple businesses. Okay. Not until you get down. So it's maybe like a 4-minute drive into the heart of, you know, Erie, if you will, 38th Street, which goes along all of Erie, which
Yeah.
is what Mercyhurst is on. You get there and you're like, oh, something happened.
Yeah.
Like it's still plowed, but like on the corner of whatever road I come down to make a right on the 38th, there's this like V of where the plows went, and it's 6 feet high.
Yeah.
And it's pushing, like I had to make a right on red, but like on both sides, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming this way. You can't see it.
Yeah.
And then driving on 38th Street, which I do for like maybe a half mile, it's 5 feet on the right of plowed snow. And there's these ice chunks that the plow just didn't get. That sounds like you're going over these huge potholes because they're like 2 inches high. And you get to Mercyhurst, the main entrance, plowed, but that's not where Bella lives. I go 2 more neighborhood streets up and then up that street. Not even touched. Slush 14 inches deep where the road meets, but only for like 10 feet. And then just packed snow, ruts and everything else,
Yeah.
all the way up to her dorm. That you're good, you're moving, and then of course the car in front of you stops to let somebody go, and you're like,
It's over.
We might be here.
Yeah,
We might-
yeah.
And they're like in a 4-wheel drive, and they're throwing snow everywhere, and I'm like, don't hit the gas so hard. Go slow, go slow. And then we made it, and it was fine. And there was something else I wanted to tie into with that, but starting 4 p.m. today through 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, they're getting 10 to 20 more
Wow.
with 45-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, and from the sounds of it, it wasn't about the amount so much as like how fast it all came
Sure.
in. Yeah.
There were, you know, our friend.
As I left, sorry for interrupting.
That's all right.
But I'll be done. As I left, you know, I come down the slippery road. It's a slight downhill onto 38th, and then I'm fine. So I have to wait because I can't gun it because I'm in 14 inches of slush, and it's 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes this way. So I make the left-hand turn. I'm like, all right, sweet. I look over. There's a guy shoveling out his driveway with what anyone normal would call like an axe, but it's a maul.
Yeah.
Hit a sledge with a blade on it on the edge of his driveway trying to break up the ice.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
like, that guy's done.
Yeah.
He's done. Like, he's going to lose an eyeball and he doesn't care. Like, it looked like he's chopping wood
Yeah.
and he's just jamming it into the end of his
We
driveway.
are cutting eyes.
I'm sure he was like a minute away from getting a chainsaw.
Wow.
Another Lake Erie location, our friend Kevin Morgan.
Yes.
Who, you know, they built a cottage up in Geneva on the Lake in Ohio a couple years ago. He shared a picture on Facebook, and he said the picture, you can imagine the picture is tons of snow.
Yeah.
Here's his little cottage, and the road is plowed, I assume. You can't really see the road, but you can just see everything is like pushed up
mounds
to the house. Like
Yeah.
it is like just a mountain. You cannot possibly walk in his door. But his comment was discounted rate tonight only. If
Yeah.
anybody wants to, friends and family discount.
Does he Airbnb that?
Not yet. Okay. They've talked about it, but they have not started that yet. Yeah.
I've had a weird couple days. If you're new to the podcast, we're at the anniversary of Amy's mom passing. It's actually today is the day, and leading up to this day has been a lot. It's been
On top of?
too much, and there's just emotional. Comes in waves. We've talked about grief, and that's kind of been wafting in with Amy, and understandably so.
I got to tell somebody this at Thanksgiving, actually, my niece, that one of my new favorite phrases is that grief is so very patient.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you
yeah.
can run from it, you can drink it away, you can get busy, you can ignore it, and it's just waiting to tap you on the shoulder.
She kind of had a post about it. I don't know if you saw her post on Facebook.
Did not.
Yeah, it kind of references that. Yeah. And today we went and put a wreath on her mom's headstone and did that whole thing. And but today was actually a pretty good day, which is weird to say, leading all up to it. But not that I'm saying like she's completely fine or it's not that. But I feel like today was better than yesterday. She might feel differently.
That is so typical.
I wanted to ask about that. Like she's obviously
of the day is
the
worse than
anticipation of the day.
Yeah, she's had like this anxiety building up to it, and now she gets to face it. But
right, it doesn't seem as bad as it was yesterday. I may be wrong. We're gonna kind of debrief with her
you
tonight.
go upstairs and she's like, this
She's
is
like
the
melting
worst
down.
day ever.
I heard what you said.
But then at work today,
You think this is fine?
yeah, the biggest project that I'm working on, it's coming to fruition, and I got a comment today in one of the meetings that I was in, and it was, I don't have a high need of respect, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit. I'm going to be kind of vague, but basically the comment that I got was like, Eric, let's take that offline. This is your thing, and let's talk about like how you want to, like, when we deploy this, like how you want to roll it out over other teams and whatnot. And I was like, thank you. Like,
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say you took that as disrespect.
no, it was.
You were like given the reins.
Yes,
Okay.
because like it was like our like idea, and it's our baby that we're working.
Can you
with.
say what level of person said that to you?
I believe she's a director.
So like
So two above me.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she's very respectful.
That's great respect.
Yeah.
Because like they respect your idea, but they also respect your
Leadership.
yes.
Yeah.
Your-
Yeah.
But you're trying to figure out why did it feel so good?
Well, right, because like I don't have a high need of respect.
Right.
But not saying I don't. I mean, I feel like everybody needs
Feels
some
nice. It's a base
respect.
level,
You
yeah.
know, yeah. But I was like, all right,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because you see, well, I've never worked in the business realm, but like you'll see things in movies where like it's so and so's idea, but then management takes over and it's not. They mess things up or
That's
whatever.
another thing because whenever we do like a release of like a new feature or something like on the website or in the app or something like that, there's a big long like launch email of like, here's the problem we were facing. This is what we did. This is why we did it. That kind of thing. And my director is like, we need to be putting that email out. It's not going to be anybody else. This is us. Like, so I've even gotten that, which has been really, really great support. Maybe it's support.
No,
No,
because it's the opposite.
Right.
But-
Well,
Well-
she's supporting your leadership.
I think that might be what it is. It might be that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because she is meeting with me and coming alongside me to talk about the idea and like how we're going to roll it out. So, and that was very comforting to me.
She's not taking over, but she's helping to like buoy you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's making it easier because she's getting anybody else out of the way
Yes.
that would make it worse.
So I think it's support.
It is support.
Yeah.
When they said, how do you want to
solved
roll
it.
this out? I thought you were going to say, in the way where I can't make it bad in any way possible.
No,
Like, I
I-
don't want to screw up at all.
I could not be more excited. If this goes the way that I'm anticipating, I'm so excited for the year coming up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Amy and I are. I think I said it last time. Like, just we're starting to enter that holiday season for musicians, and sure enough, this week is when it really kicks in. But it's all like it's speaking of being like things out of your control. So Amy had her first concerts tonight. She has 2 evenings of them because she teaches at 2 elementary schools. But all of her concerts are held at the high school, and she doesn't actually get into the high school until she's like,
Show day.
here come the kids.
So the kids don't know where to stand.
Exactly. I mean, they practiced in their gym, but it's not
this
the same
place.
thing,
No.
right? So of course there's anxiety that goes along with that, and I talked to her on the phone quickly before I walked in here, and everything went fine, like in the end. But there were still anxious moments and whatnot. She has her second one tomorrow. Tomorrow for me is supposed to be my first day. I'm very lucky because my elementary school used to be a middle school, and before that, way back in like the 60s, it was a high school. So we have an auditorium. So it's it's on site. It's easy to rehearse down there. And tomorrow's supposed to be my first day rehearsing with classes in the auditorium. We already got called for a 2-hour delay.
Oh, yeah.
So
shorten those periods up.
yeah,
Wait a minute.
exactly.
What's tomorrow? What's happening?
Well,
Rain, freezing.
some stuff hitting in the morning.
I think it's an over.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like, first thing of the year,
let's-
so it's an
hey, let's shorten the day.
overreaction. Let's be overly cautious kind
Because
of
Penn
thing.
Hills has it already, too.
Yeah.
And Woodland Hills.
Well, now I got to look at
Could be
Maggie's
something,
school.
could be
Yeah.
nothing. But either way, now I have a 2-hour delay, so it's not every class that I will see. So I need to find like other times during the day, like, and talk to the teacher, like, could you possibly come to the auditorium for like 25 minutes at this point or whatever? But yeah, all the
Another variable.
Yeah, another variable. And the classes that I am scheduled to see are shorter, like you said, Jay. And it's just like, okay, this is their one time to practice in the auditorium, and they're getting shortchanged. And so it's like, But I mean,
The beauty of it is, and it doesn't really matter to you, I bet, you could put on a really crappy elementary school,
right.
and there's not a parent there that's like, I feel like he hasn't done a very good job over the last couple. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's the kids are singing, they're up there, they're trying to pay attention. I would say the measure. Well, even then, does every kid do it?
Yes.
Oh, well, even then, I don't even know how you get measured.
And yeah, no matter what, it'll be fine. But I do kind of pride myself in, like, and that's not a ton of people, but there's always a few parents that come up and say good job and whatever. And I love when someone says, I don't know how you did that. Like, I don't know how you got all those kindergartners, for example, to stand and watch you and sing together and do all the hand movements, I don't get it. And like, that's the best feeling,
Yeah.
But obviously the answer to how did you do that is we practiced.
Yeah.
And practiced.
Since the first day of school, pretty much.
Right. No, we kick it into high gear late October, though.
Mr. Davidson,
Yeah.
why are we singing Christmas songs
Yes.
in September?
The kids know late October, but even then, like, I'll start like a week or two before Halloween. That's the one.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, "What are we doing?" But it's a whirlwind. Before you know it, it's middle of November.
Well, especially this
Right.
year.
Yeah. Thanksgiving was very late.
Yeah, the whipsaw.
Yeah.
Right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
bam.
we're just boom, December, here we are. So it's just busy. It's fine. It's all good. It's gonna turn out.
You'll be on Christmas break before you know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. We only have like 13 days in December.
I saw
now.
a calendar and it was so great. And it was color coded for the month of December. And like the first week, during the week, it was, pretend to get work done. And then the next 2 weeks of weekdays, it was don't even pretend to get things done. One day was say I'm going to start my Christmas shopping. And then like the day before Christmas, it's Christmas shopping. And then like all these other days are like ruin my stomach and liver. And then the best part was like this small sliver on Christmas morning, and it just says nostalgia. And speaking of nostalgia, General Big Guy's here.
Yeah.
And so
Hey, Big
we're
Guy.
excited that he's at the table. And then along with Groot and Lorianne and Bethany and Mary Lynn and Ashley and Breaking 90, they all sit at the head of the table because they've gone to lunchtimeinrome.com and become a paid subscriber to help produce this time each and every week. And we're ever so grateful for that.
Yes,
Maybe
we
just
are.
me.
Me too. No,
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
No, yes.
I'm absolutely grateful.
And this is our third in our series of Stand the Book. For those of you who are new to the table, and I can't imagine who that is, but thank you for joining us. I put together a book over almost 4 years,
Wow.
off and on, more
Yeah.
off than on. And
I can't believe it's been that long, though.
it started in 2021, according to Google Docs. So
I guess it's just because, like, it felt like it just, like, sped up when you got the publisher involved.
yeah, that did.
Yeah.
I mean, it got real
Yeah.
at that point. And I had been sitting on it for years, or not even sitting on it, but like thinking, what am I going to do with this? Like, Jay, I always say many a great idea has died a lonely death inside my head. That I'm a good idea guy. I'm not necessarily a good implementer
Yeah.
of things. I'm a good doer. I can build a disc golf course. I don't, get a huge team around me or anything like that. So I always wondered, like, would I just hand it out as a Google Doc and everything else? And I had a friend who had used Christian editing and design. So I literally interviewed them and they me, and I hired them, and we've put it together. And it launched on November 22nd, which is now, is it
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
not quite 2 weeks ago, right?
Just about.
Yeah,
About 2 weeks
2 weeks
ago.
on Friday. And it's been great. And speaking of emotional needs, I've gone through this whole process, and one of the biggest things I've had to overcome or deal with, even like from the beginning, when the very first time I talked with Rachel of Christian Editing and Design, not of Mitlow. She's the owner of the company. And she was so excited about my idea for the book and what I had done. And in the back of my head, I go, of course she is. She wants me to hire them. And then when they say it's going really well, I go, well, of course they are. They want to keep me on the line.
Yeah. Write another book.
And I mean, I would say as much to them. Like I'm not, and I would always say, this isn't about you. This is about me. Like, because why do I think I can do this? And I think I mentioned this maybe on the virtual launch, which you can find on my Instagram page. Maybe I mentioned it here, where I had some moments of self-doubt. That 3 a.m. after you go to the bathroom kind of things. And you're laying there and you go, what?
And I was like, oh, kind of feel that more often than 3 a.m.
But where you kind of like, I thought to myself, why do I think I can do this? Why do I think I can be an author? And God was very good to me because he kind of said, you got through the death of your son. You navigated those waters. And you always tell people it's because of it's what God did through us, that I'm not special, that God just gave me what we needed. Okay, well, can't God give me what I need to put this book together?
Right.
Why do I think it's me? So it's been a journey in that. And I had a call or a text thread the other night with a bunch of the staff from Christian Editing and Design, and they were just singing my praises and singing the results that we've had so far. And they were like, on this much alone, we've sold this many copies. And I'm like, well, is that good? And they're like, yeah, that's really good. And then the next morning I had a call with my marketing director, and it was a good moment because she said, Jay, I was just talking with Rachel, the owner, because my marketing director is also Rachel with an A.
There's a lot of Rachels.
RACHAEL.
This is the third one now.
Including my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
only 2 have the same spelling. But anyhow,
It's awesome.
I can hear it when you
so
say it.
Rachel
like how-
the marketing,
Yeah.
was talking with Rachel, the owner, and they said that Jay should write a book on how to create a community, because they've never seen a community support a project like I had. The Team Mitlow one, if you will.
Yeah.
And I said, really? And she goes, well, Jay, I have this one author I'm working with, and she has this beautiful trilogy that she has written. And she goes, and she so far has 2 Google reviews or Amazon reviews in a year. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know why she'd write 3 books then. I'm like I don't want to be good with all due respect.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to be good compared to that. You know, like,
right.
And they're like, I just don't. They're like, we have some authors who just don't have any momentum. There's
Right.
nobody around them. And at one point in the conversation when we were talking about some marketing ideas, she was sort of encouraging / telling me to be more assertive. And I said that, well, I'm somewhat self-deprecating by nature. And she goes, Jay, you're very self-deprecating. And I was like, all right, I guess I've hired you to say that to me. But in that same self-deprecating vein, I want to say, okay, I'm going to write a book on how to build a community around you. Okay, so for 10 years, you have to completely envelop yourself and give to a community by serving their kids, coaching their children, and volunteering wherever you can. Then you have to have your youngest child get diagnosed with cancer. Then you have to be very open and honest and vulnerable and overly communicate your needs to a whole world while balancing your wife's desire for privacy and be naturally gifted at public speaking and writing. There. There's your book.
Yeah, because like if you're an
That's easy.
if you're an introvert and you don't, want to be if you don't have a high need of attention,
If you will.
I feel like it would be a lot harder to accomplish something like that.
I would think so. I mean, and again, that's me. Am I being and we could probably delve into this a lot more as far as the games the enemy plays with you.
Yeah.
Because, am I gifted in certain areas? Sure. Did God give me those gifts in the first place? Sure. But you may not, other people don't have those gifts. And so therefore it would be harder for
Right.
them.
Right.
I'm sure, so I'm just going to do it again. I'm sure those other books that these other people have written are better than my book, but they don't have the people that I have.
Right.
It's also different. I mean, she did tell me another example, and she told me the book, and I'm like, oh, I would have never considered reading that. I can tell you why nobody's read that book, man. I'm like, there's 8 people that want to read that book, and 6 did buy it, so really, they're doing okay.
Yeah.
But
Well, and your book is, we've talked about it before, it's unique. It's hitting a different spot than anything you've seen in your travels.
Right. It's kind of why you wrote the book.
well, that's one of the things that I want to. I mean, you guys can talk about this, or you guys can lead this, but like, where do we want to go with talking about the launch? Because I can go into numbers and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Chris, that leads me to a degree to the misconceptions of the book, which is something I want to talk about as well. So I don't know which way you guys want to go first.
Well, let's make sure that this isn't a misconception, because this is where I was going to start, is like since Trey died, you have been, and even before that, you have been on a mission to share his story and to use your experience and his experience for good, to help others to be. Is that a fair statement?
Well, absolutely. It's the 6th added step to the grieving process. There used to be 5 steps, and then the 6th is purpose.
Okay.
Like, well, why did I go through this?
Right.
If it's just for pain, well, that sucks.
Well, and you and Rachel, wife Rachel, have done like a beautiful job of like manifesting that purpose, And so like when I think about your book, I think, well, here is a very tangible example, like of it's what you've been talking about for years. It's what you've been showing people who know you for years. But it's here it is in black and white, concise, tangible form that anybody can get their hands on, So it's like you've got your story, you've had your story, here it is, and so and now it's launching. So like now that it's you get the chance for it to, the realization that it's going beyond just like the people or the people you talk to. Like how does that change the way that you're viewing, I guess, the book launch or the viewing Trey's story? Like, oh my goodness, now it's going to be opened up to like all these people. And I'm sure you probably, when you consider sharing the story at all at the when you first start writing the book, I'm sure you considered some of the things that you had to share with the world.
Well, now that it's out, people's reactions to the book are varied and they're all positive. I haven't had, I prepared myself for weeks and months for negative reactions and predominantly in the Christian community because I say some relatively aggressive things in the book. And maybe that'll come, maybe it won't. And I'm really to the point where I don't care. But the reactions to the book, like one woman wrote, what's cool is when I see people comment on other people's Facebook posts or Instagram posts, but mostly Facebook, the people that are commenting, I don't know them. Or people that have read the book, that I don't know. Because there's waves to this, and I'm ignorant to it. Go ahead.
I was actually curious about that because, a lot of people that have read the book know you.
I would say 95% at this point.
Right. And even like... even the publishing people somewhat know you. They got to know you through the process of doing the writing the book and tweaking things and all that.
One really quick good compliment I got was from Rachel Porter, the owner of Christian Editing and Design. She texted me the day after Thanksgiving. She goes, "I purposefully didn't read your book, or your manuscript, and I'm now reading your book while getting a pedicure." And she goes, "Man, let me tell you, you can write." And I was like, sweet.
Yeah, but she didn't have to say that.
Right. Well, and I think part of the process...
Well, did she? No.
Part of the process in the publishing is they do have people that don't know you at all read the book and apply feedback or whatever, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but each of my editors, of which there were basically 3, that knew nothing of me.
Right.
They got to know me.
Right. They got to know you through the process. But you're saying there are some people that you have no idea who they are and they've read the book. That's cool. That's big.
And so so on one of them was my dear good friend, Becky Fionaletto. She does book reviews like just every once in a while. She'll read a book and she makes a formal book review. And so she did mine.
Yeah.
And one woman, I don't know her. I still don't know her, whatever else. She just wrote, "I didn't know the child died." And it's so funny because when anybody comments
you mean by the end of the book?
Here's her comment.
Okay.
"I didn't know the child died."
Okay.
That's it. That was her post on Becky's review of the book. And anytime anybody posts, I always thank them. I encourage them to share it.
And you're like, "Thank you."
I stood there for like a minute and I just took a screenshot of it and sent it to Becky. And I just went, I don't know how to respond. She goes, "I didn't either. I just went to the gym." She goes, I'll handle it later. And it was beautiful what she said. She goes, "He did, but he died not knowing what cancer was. And he brought a lot of glory to God and he lived a full life and, whatever else."
In my head, I was like, maybe she meant when she started reading, she didn't.
I don't even know this lady about the book. Like, because it was just.
Maybe.
That's what I thought. When I started reading, I didn't realize he was going to die.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you read the book, it comes up pretty early.
Well, but maybe she was just reading the review.
Right. Anyhow, the different reviews of people, it's been positive. And as far as like you were saying, I've told the story for a long time, but now other people, one of the things I've had to come to grips, and I was prepared for this, is the different reactions within my family or those closest to me. Mia, you guys know her.
Yeah.
We got to get her on the podcast, by the way. At some point in time soon.
Anytime.
She was the one who helped me shoot a lot of my Instagram reels and stuff like that. And she's like, "I read the beginning and then I just skimmed it." She goes, "Uncle Jay, it was just too hard for me." Actually, she was the one that I said, grief is patient.
Yeah.
But then I mentioned that in the book, I talk about how Trey died. And Bella went to that immediately. That's one of the first things Bella read. Joe read the first chapter and shut it down. He's tried a couple times since and he can't quite get through it, but he's committed to it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Joe and Bella did not know that Trey had died overnight. They just thought because they went to school and didn't see that he had died.
Oh, man.
And that was part of our whole thing was, hey, get him out, get him out, get him out. And one of our miracles was Joe got off the top bunk past Trey lying there and then went out in the hallway. And that's when Rachel came and got me. And we just kept Joe out of the room the rest of the time. So my point is I had to tell Joe that. And he's like, I did not know that. I was unaware of that. And Mia's like, "Yeah, that was so tough." And I said, "Wait a minute. you said you just skimmed. She goes, well, I read that chapter. And I said, you read the worst chapter? I said, that's almost as bad as the chapter called The Ugly Part. She goes, oh, I read that one too. I'm like, why do you think I laid the book out the way I did with like jocularity and funny moments and, oh, Trey's naked again. And you just read the worst parts. But like, I have other family members I know have not cracked it.
I haven't
But others
cracked
have.
it yet. I'm still trying to build up.
I'm kind of waiting for.
Oh, wait, is that why? Like emotionally, or just sort of you got enough going on?
Probably a little bit of both. You know, right now this season, like we were talking earlier, we've
got a few irons in the fire.
Yeah, but there's been some times where we've had talks. That I want to bring up right now. Feel like they're more personal. That like I'm not ready to visit that. Kind of like it's weird. Like kind of like I think it's going to be different reading a book and just being with myself and reading it versus like having a conversation with you.
We've talked, you know all about the book.
Right.
It'll be different.
It'll be different. And so I'm just waiting. I'm definitely going to read it.
Wow.
But yeah.
I'm putting it off till Christmas break because I want there to be like I already said, yes, I am busy right now. And I don't want to use that as an excuse, but I want some days where I'm like, okay, I can just be home and read this and not be like, well, now I read this chapter and I got to go teach my afternoon classes or something. You know what I mean? Like I want there to be a little extended time.
Yeah.
Plus, lightheartedly, we just lost a cat recently, so samesies.
You stole Ben's joke.
Man, that's so great. It's pretty much same. Really. I mean, and actually, yours is a little more raw.
It's pretty recent, Jay.
The cat might not even be dead.
That's true.
It's living a better life in another house.
Wow. That is not good emotional responding, but it's great humor.
No, but
Joe Bell's actually listening right now. Got a little catnip, just laughing at Chris and Amy.
But to Chris, your point, and also from what I've heard other people say is like they start reading it and they can't put it down. Like, which is great. Like
right.
as a writer, author, like that's one of the, I feel like one of the highest compliments you can give somebody.
Well, it's one of the ones that I've hung my hat on the most.
Yeah.
That makes me feel really good. I mean, like literally, I probably had 10 people tell me they've read it in 1 or 2 sittings.
Yeah.
And Christina was one who got to the ugly parts, and she's like, "It's already an hour." That's the name of one of the chapters.
Yeah,
the ugly parts. Mm-hmm. And it was like she goes, "It's an hour and a half past my bedtime, and I really don't think I should go into that chapter at this point in time at night." But yeah, that has been very rewarding for me to hear people saying that it's very readable, and it goes to the other. I mean, there's been a lot of good things, but the comments that people say that the way we wrote the book, I wrote the book, that each chapter is our story, which hits your right side of the brain. It hits the emotions, and it hits you in the feels, if you will, both good and bad. But then in each chapter, it goes to how to stand and how to help them stand, which makes you then think, and it becomes a tutorial. Mm-hmm. And so now your left brain is engaged, and it gives your right brain a break. Mm-hmm. And so by the end of it, you're like, let's see what the next chapter has. Oh, I can't believe they went through that. Oh, that's so terrible. I did say that to, and it bounces back and forth, which is what I think lends to the readability of it.
Yeah.
And it was my desire.
Yeah.
Like I wanted that to be the way the book read. Yeah. And that goes to back when we were saying, should we go over numbers or misconceptions and whatnot? You brought up the reactions back to the emotions. For me, it's one thing back to that. I've written it, I've lived it, I've cried, it's all been a part of it. It's been from an analytical standpoint, interesting to watch those who say, I can't read it. I can't do it. Like family members, can't do it.
Right.
I will someday, I can't. And that's kind of what I say in the back of my breath, like, grief is pretty patient. Like you might want to get on that.
Yeah.
But then other ones, a good friend of ours, Heather Houlihan, I forget what her code name was. What was it?
Oh, yeah, we were. I don't remember anymore.
Trixie?
Trixie. And
that's good.
I can't remember. It's been a minute.
She'll remember.
Yeah.
But not Henry. Anyhow, she said, she sat down. She's like, I am just going to read this. And I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry because I know the whole story, and I know the ending, not just in Trey passing, but how healthy the family is, and I'm going to be good. And she saw what I wrote on the inside of it. She goes, I started crying then.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And she said I rolled into a good, solid cry throughout. She goes, and then when I got to the part where Trey cried, she goes, I was openly sobbing loudly in my living room. And if you know her husband, whatever his name was, it's Lenny, literally.
He's like, keep it down.
Lenny is a 6'4" gentle giant. And I thought, that poor guy probably just walked past her, looked in the room, and was like, not sure what that is. So it's been, it's been a blessing in that regard and everything else.
Yeah.
But my earliest frustration, I would say, besides not knowing how to do this, you know what I mean? Like, is it good? Are we doing well?
Right.
How do we get here? How do we go next? What are we supposed to do? Is the misconceptions of the book. And that is that it's a tribute to Trey, or that it is a book about grief. To a degree,
Sure.
Right.
grief is a component of it.
Right.
But there's two areas. One, highly specialized parenting advice. That's such a big component of this book. Like, what do you do in this moment? There is, I said it on the virtual book launch, 500,000 kids in America are facing a life-threatening diagnosis right now. That's 500,000 families. That's 1 million parents. That is 4 million grandparents. Where's the other book on this? I don't know it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this book
Right.
helps them navigate this time. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's really inspirational. It's really great and everything else. Like, no, it's also a how-to book. But then also, even within that, so it's a how-to book, but it's also a parenting book. And to the parenting end, one of the main things I talk about early in the book before the tears start, well, after the first tears start at his diagnosis, but then after that, was how much we decided, hey, we have got to take care of Joe and Bella. We've got to protect them.
Right.
We have to make sure their needs are met. Well, how many parents go through life and there's the favorite kid? Or how many when you have the loud kid and the quiet kid just stays in the shadows?
Right.
Or you have a special needs kid. Maybe they're not facing a life-threatening diagnosis,
But they're getting a lot of attention.
and the other kids slip through the cracks.
Right.
Well, that's just good. That's good, solid parenting,
Yeah.
and that's in the book. It's also, and this is for the isolated folks here at the table, this select group of people who sit with us every week. How many times have we said, if you're trying to grow in in conflict resolution, or getting your needs met, or helping other people, when there's somebody else in your world who doesn't sit at the table and they don't understand emotional needs, how difficult that is? And we always say, model it, try to teach it, do whatever you can. You give them this book, they're going to learn about emotional needs. They're going to learn about comfort. I mean, we sat the other day, and it was Mary Lynn, who's with us at the table, who was one of my family members. This is a great story.
She's crying right now.
I'm blowing up her spot, and that's okay. Mary Lynn was one of the people, I think I mentioned it. She said, I read everything that you didn't write. So it's like the author, the description of me, and all these other things, but she couldn't read it. And then she said, but I felt like a hypocrite that I'm promoting your book. I'm talking about how great it is, but I haven't read it.
Yeah.
And so she sat down and she powered through it and read the whole thing. And so I give her all the credit for that as well. Why I bring that up? Well, I will tell you why.
Why, Jay?
I don't know. Where was I right before that? It was coming off of, the emotional needs. So we had a meeting, and so Heather Houlihan, Becky Finoletto, Marilyn, and myself were talking. And it was just so encouraging to hear their reactions to the book and to the emotional experience of the book. Speaking of people who don't know me, Becky Finoletto's mother is in the hospital, or at least was. Took Becky's copy of the book from her, started to read it. I'm getting to where I was going.
It's a lost sale. You got to get her to buy one.
She then devoured it and was like, you know what this is going to do? When I get out of here, this is going to help me the next time I go to a funeral. That was the other point I was going to make. She was, I'm going to be much better when I go to the next funeral. One of my friends, I'm going to say better things or not say the wrong things.
Yeah, amen.
And
That's awesome.
I said one of the cute things was that she started telling the nurses about her friend Jay wrote a book. I never met the lady, but we're friends now.
Yeah.
And so she has done that. So it teaches, hey, how do you handle a viewing? How do you handle coming alongside somebody? So it's a sneaky thing as well. But the misconception is, oh, it's a sad, heavy book. Well, no, it's also very instructional.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful in that regard.
Right. It's not just about Trey passing away. There's actionable things.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking earlier. When you kind of said it when you talked about it's not a tribute to Trey.
No.
But it is in a way part of his legacy. Like it's part of
Sure. Why was he here on this earth?
yeah.
Why are any of us here? Well, we have a purpose. What was his purpose? Man, he lived a fire plug life, oblivious to that which eventually took his life, fiercely independent, full of life and joy and everything else, and a determination and a determination is a big point, but in a warrior spirit, unbeknownst to the battle he was in. Mm-hmm. And so, this is, if he just dies and it's like, oh, what a shame. But we'll know what he did and what he went through and the joy that he brought, it lives on through this book.
Would you say that this book, and again, since I haven't read it, I have to ask. Every kid's different, but would you say that there is instruction in here as well? Speaking of the how-to aspect of it, of like how to help your child in a difficult situation have maybe more of that, more of the, whether it's the warrior's mentality or if it's just the helping them maintain like a zest for life. I don't know. It's
my short answer to that is
yes.
No.
Okay.
Trey was who Trey was. Joe is who Joe was. Joe is who Joe is. Bella is who Bella is. Trey was just that powerhouse of life.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything I survived it in a lot of ways. It was ridiculous the amount of energy and spirit that he had. When he was still probably 5, maybe even 6, the running joke was when he would have dinner at grandma's, he would go into the back room and get his high chair and carry it out to the living room and then climb up on his own and buckle himself in because he wanted to sit in the high chair.
Yeah.
So that's what, I don't think many people in high chairs do that, but that was Trey.
Yeah.
So we had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, sure.
I do want to talk about who the book is for, and that's another nice surprise that it's for the 80-year-old who is in the hospital, and learning how to be better with going to funerals and visitations and stuff like that. It's for anybody going through something to draw from the wisdom that's in the book, if I can say that humbly, that decisions you have to make when you go into a hospital. What is it going to be? How are we going to make sure stuff gets done at home? It really encourages having a plan, having a system, or having somebody do that for you.
Right.
So it's a much wider audience than anybody would ever imagine, which goes with any kind of thing that I do, because my original goal was to help the immediate parents of a child that was diagnosed with a life-threatening disease.
Right.
Well, no, it's actually much more and much wider than that as well. And again, it'll help teach people how to respond, emotional responding, what emotional needs even are. We are right now, at 170 copies sold, which is apparently outstanding.
That
includes the pre-sale.
Yeah, but that's amazing.
And so this goes back to what to expect. Because we said, I would say at this point, 90%, 95% are people that know me. And so that's why the initial reaction to it and response, and what most people have told me is, if it wasn't a good book, they wouldn't have said the nice things they said.
Right.
They just would have said nothing. Because my smart ass, pardon me, is who's going to call me and say, hey, Jay, that book you wrote about your son that passed away,
Right.
I found it to be emotionally manipulative, disoriented,
Right.
and not very convincing. Nobody's going to say that, but they would just say nothing.
Right.
I have 9 reviews on Amazon, I think 5 or 7 written. I forget which one it is. And they're all 5 stars, which is great. Rachel Porter said probably one of the more astute things, which was it is very easy to read and terribly difficult to digest. And so,
Yeah.
so we're at the first phase of Everybody Who Knows Me, and then it's the referrals. And then so I don't know where it goes from there just organically. From a marketing perspective, I want to almost finish with that this evening. But organically, okay, it's word of mouth. I did get a heart-wrenching one yesterday, and it was a woman that said, I read it in one sitting, and I bought 2 copies for my niece, whose daughter was diagnosed with leukemia right before your book was launched.
Oh, wow.
And it's so weird because you're like, hey, thanks so much.
Yeah.
right.
And yet your heart is broken, and yet there's a little part of me inside that goes, well, she read it and still bought it for her.
Yeah.
So
is that an Amazon review?
no, that was on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So you were able to like respond and
Yeah, they posted like on my page or like on one of my advertisements.
Yeah.
And so my heart just breaks.
yeah.
But yet celebrates, but yet breaks.
Right.
Because it's going to go to good use.
Right.
If it helps that family or anybody around that family, well, we've done a good job at that point in time.
So, and she is one of the ones who you do not know.
Never met her.
So, like,
Apparently, she may know my sister.
oh, okay, all right. I was gonna mention. Speaking of Eric's wonderful work that he does, the SEO, right? Like, I think Eric, you've helped Jay, right?
has.
As far as like, because obviously that is part of that next level beyond people is going to be people who are in need and go to Google,
Right.
like what can they find, when they're typing into Google to help support them in whatever, difficulty, tragedy, cancer related or otherwise that they're going through.
Yep.
Yeah. So like what kind of things do you do for that, Eric? Like how does that?
Well, just, we created the website for Jay where you can find his book. It's jmitlow.com. But there's different touch points that we can optimize and whatnot. I don't know how nuts and boltsy we want to get
No, I'm just
into
laughing
this.
because that you talk about years ago. My brother said he didn't know where my blog was.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he couldn't remember the name of it, and I was like, jmitlow.com.
But yeah,
www/
My name.
Creed Thoughts
Yeah.
Just you can go ahead as
But
deep as you want.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can just Google Jay's name and his website will come right up. Which that's a goal. But speaking of that, that's also where Jay's blog lives and has lived for the past like 10
More than that
now.
Probably 15 years.
So if you ever want to, take a trip,
You can revisit. You can find the post the day Trey died. You can.
it'd be kind of fun to go through is the not fun.
Not that one.
Yeah. Well, remember the lists?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of lists.
There's a lot of
I just
lists.
made one about a month ago.
Yeah, and they were just so interesting to read through, and it was just interesting, especially through that time. But no, jmitlow.com, you can find where to buy the book there. You can learn about the book, even though if you're listening to this, you probably know
Pretty
all
well
about
aware
it.
at this point.
Yeah.
So
and another big thing, that
Please
you
do.
can do, if you're reading the book, please leave a review, because I would think, like the more reviews, the more that's out there. That obviously helps with other people trying to find it.
And I will say, and I work in marketing. That's what I do. Still to this day, the best marketing is word of mouth. So please tell people about it.
Well, and one of my ideas, was equipping hospitals, was equipping churches with these things. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, I've actually received maybe 1, maybe 2 books as a pastor in the mail. Hey, please check this out, whatever else. That was before I became an author. And it was before I became the reader that I am now. But do you think I read those books? No, I didn't read those books. And then I think about a hospital. Well, they're managers. It's almost too altruistic of me to think that they're going, boy, because it would be really good for every employee of a hospital to read this book, because they're going to get a different understanding of what the people who walk through that hospital are dealing with. You think that's going to become the training of any hospital?
No.
So really,
You kind of need advocates.
and that's the point. I was thinking it would be top-down marketing. that we're going to market to churches, we're going to market to hospitals, we're going to do all this stuff. When the reality is, if it's a good enough book, word of mouth will spread.
Yeah.
2 people tell 2 people, and then 2 people tell 2 people, and it goes that way. And then tragically, somebody gets diagnosed, and they go, "That's that book we read."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now you sell 5 more around there, and we equip everybody around there, but they at least know about it. However, what I would ask each and every one of you here at the table who sit with us every week or tonight for the first time, think about your organization. And what I mean by that is, could be church, could be your school. Who are the doers when something when needs need to be met? You know, in some churches, they have a whole care team. They have the Stevens Ministries. And those are the people that are very big on reflective listening, by the way.
Right.
Sounds like you're angry. Well, it sounds like I'm about to punch you in the face if you keep repeating what I said. But my encouragement is find the people that are doing the ministering to the hurting and buy the book for them. Encourage them to do that. Get a small group together. You know, if you have a card club, if you got a book club, for heaven's sakes, you got to buy it. But so that we can get our way into those organizations. If you know somebody who works at a hospital that is a good friend of yours, whatever else, vouch for the book and get it in their hands. Chaplains and Child Life are the number one area. Child Life are the ones who come and make your kid laugh, and they bring the games that they have in the storage that you can always have, and they distract the kid when you're getting the X-ray, or they keep the siblings engaged. And so that's Child Life. And the chaplains, they wake you up when you're in your nap time and they ask you if you want to pray, and you tell them to leave. That's my experience with the chaplains in a hospital.
Yeah.
But chaplains in the Army, on the other hand,
Hey,
That's where
General
it's
Big
at.
Guy.
salt of the earth, those guys. But my point is, it'll come, like you said, Eric, from word of mouth, and it's actually going to be marketing upwards.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be top down, but this way up.
Yeah.
And that goes to the misconception. Somebody doesn't have to be in crisis to read this book. It is a great general knowledge book that will impact your life and inspire you. And again, give glory to God, because I think you go through it and you go, well, God did something, you know, and Jay is naturally gifted, once again, from God, but God did the work, and God can get me through something as well. And God can protect Trey from ever knowing that he had cancer in the first place. So whatever anybody wants to do, I will facilitate that. I will make it happen. And I will be very grateful for that as well.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Beyond that, please do leave a review. Please do. And just share. Look for, and please I'm going to make a few videos coming up. Because I'm tired of not being funny. So I'm going to try to make a funny video about selling the book. So we will see how that goes. So please think it's funny when I do it.
We would be remiss if we did not also mention the results of our Thanksgiving
I didn't want to bring
food
it up.
draft. Yeah, I wonder why. He doesn't want to brag. Those of you who don't know, our last episode, it was a more relaxed episode, and
Go
the
back and
four
listen.
of us. Yeah, please, episode 269.
We also got to play more games.
It was fun.
It was fun. And
It
there are
was
some
fun.
people passionate about
And we did a
this topic.
4-round, I think, food
was?
draft, Thanksgiving
It
food.
was going to be 3.
and
4 to make it fair.
And then some of us, I may or may not have forgotten to post on mine. And this, hey, full disclosure, I did not win this, the votes here. I could have done a little better if I had some Titusville, if I had actually posted it to my
Your
Facebook.
own Nana, or whatever you Gammy,
Grammy.
she voted and didn't mention the sparkling cider.
Son of a gun.
She was like,
Sparkling grape juice.
Chris made sure he got the stuffing. Chris loves his stuffing. And I was like, his
That's
own
true.
Gammy didn't mention the sparkling juice.
I will mention, I came in last, but I got the best
You
compliment.
came in 4th.
Yep.
What was your compliment?
It was I had the best color palette.
Oh, that's important that's important to 4 people.
Oh, daggone, he dunks on him from one above.
Yeah, the final scores.
Go
Am
from
I on?
last to first.
What happened to my ears? Oh, well. The final scores were Eric 4 votes. I got 5. Brian got 6. Jay got, I don't know, more than 6. 30.
I have a so I'm a big green bean casserole fan.
I was shocked that didn't lose it for me. Oh no, you picked green bean casserole.
I did. That was my,
yeah,
it was
a lot
my
of people
first pick. And would you have picked what did you pick first?
I believe I went mashed potatoes first. Oh, mashed potatoes, turkey. No, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, turkey in the 3rd round.
Yeah. would you have picked mashed potatoes first round?
Over green bean casserole?
No, just I mean, yeah.
I mean, I would have gone stuffing. If my order, if I had a ranking, it would have been stuffing 1, maybe mashed potatoes 2.
Yeah.
And yet I got it with 4.
Because I was like, if I would have had mashed potatoes, like that would have been a bit like a solid plate.
I think what was yours again?
It was green bean casserole, homemade applesauce.
Sure. That's too biased of a pick.
Cherry cobbler. What was my 4th?
It was something all right.
Something gross.
I can't remember.
So,
thanks for everybody who
mine
voted.
was right down the middle. I think yours was safe, but not as was less safe.
Yes. Yours was right
but
down the
not
middle,
exciting
like good fan favorite, like solid.
Safe.
Chris had the trump card of stuffing because who doesn't like stuffing?
The only
Right.
way you can lose stuffing.
No, don't say
You
it.
can't.
Yes, you can.
Well,
If you got stuffing on your plate, the only way you lose is with sparkling juice.
but he didn't lose.
Oh,
He got.
lost.
I lost
he's in
several
third
votes,
place.
though. I
He's
lost
in third
several
place.
votes,
He's on
I'm
the
sure.
podium.
Okay. By the way, I re-listened to it. I played it for Rachel on our way up to Erie for
Yeah.
Bella's play.
Yeah.
And that night I felt bad. I was like, I was a little too negative. I got too amped up in the game and stuff like that. First of all, you were a dog. You were coming after Brian. You were burying Brian, Chris. And Eric, you hammered him on the juice. I felt so much better re-listening to it.
Well, because my thing was like, there's so many better things you could
1,000
add to
ham.
that.
He
Anything.
throws a ham on there.
You could have said mac and cheese and like.
He's over the top.
Dude,
He's
you might
running
be
away
first
with it.
place if you had mac and cheese. You had stuffing and mac and cheese on your plate? Bro.
And that's it for episode 270.
Gammy sold you out.
Join us, in January for Lunchtime in Rome.
Yeah, well, we should point that out. real quick.
2.0.
We're just taking a few weeks off.
Through December. We are going to be posting some previous episodes.
Yes,
So
highlights, lowlights. No lowlights.
No, we're just going to we're going to
Revisit
re-air
the first episode.
Oh gosh, no. No, we're gonna revisit some past episodes that we thought were really good, and so we'll still be here.
Let us know.
But
Comment.
new-
What episode do you want to hear again?
Oh, that'd be good.
Maybe this one.
But we'll be fresh and new.
Again and again.
We'll be fresh and new in the beginning of January.
That's exciting. Between now and then, please give us a like or follow on social media. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. And while there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us, as always, at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you in the new year, but listen in between.
Sparkling grape juice.
Bye.